Can you imagine a 400-year-old tradition? Something as basic as the national mail service, just ending? Well, today we're talking about Denmark, because they just became the first country in the world to do exactly that. It sounds pretty radical, right? But as you're about to see, this might just be a peek into the future for all of us.
And that's a quote from the CEO of PostNord Denmark, the company right at the heart of this massive change. You can just feel the history in those words. I mean, 4 centuries of delivering everything from royal messages to birthday cards, and now they're closing that chapter. It's a really big deal.
Okay, but hold on. This is where the headlines can get a little bit confusing. Does this mean you literally can't send a letter in Denmark anymore? Are mailboxes just, disappearing from street corners? Well, not quite. The real story here is a lot more nuanced and, frankly, a lot more interesting.
So, to really get what's going on, we've got to look past those splashy headlines. This isn't just about ending the mail. It's about ending a very specific kind of government promise, a promise that's been the foundation of postal services all over the world for a very, very long time.
And here's the key phrase you need to know: the Universal Service Obligation, or USO for short. This is the legal idea that was actually taken apart, and once you understand what it is, you'll get why Denmark's decision is so revolutionary.
So what exactly was this promise that Denmark decided it just couldn't keep anymore? Let's break down what the USO actually meant for the average person and, their mailbox.
And here it is: the USO is basically a guarantee. It means that whether you live in downtown Copenhagen or on a tiny remote island, you can send and receive a letter for the exact same price, with reliable daily service. It's all about postal equality, and it's been the bedrock of national mail systems pretty much everywhere.
This chart really lays out the before and after perfectly. Under the old promise, the government made sure everyone got mail at one fixed price, even if that meant the government had to chip in money to make it happen. Now, in the new reality, it's all about the free market. Private companies handle the delivery, prices are set by supply and demand, and the government only gets involved to hire companies for very specific jobs, like getting mail to those hard-to-reach places.
So, that brings up the big question, right? Why would a country just decide to tear up a 400-year-old social contract like this? Well, the answer isn't just about money. It's about a huge shift in how an entire country communicates.
The biggest reason is staring us right in the face on this chart. Just look at this. Back in the year 2000, PostNord delivered almost 1.5 billion letters. Now, fast forward to today, and that number has absolutely cratered to just 110 million. The demand for letters has, it's pretty much vanished.
Let me put that in percentage terms for you. That is a 90% drop. 90. I mean, that's not a decline, that's a collapse. It becomes basically impossible to justify keeping this massive, expensive, nationwide system running for a service that almost nobody is using anymore.
So where did all the letters go? Well, here's your answer. Denmark is one of the most digital societies on the planet. An incredible 97% of people use the government's digital ID system called MitID. All the official stuff, your tax forms, your doctor's appointments, you name it, it's all delivered to your secure digital inbox already.
So when you connect the dots, the conclusion is pretty obvious. With almost no one sending letters, the price of a single stamp shot up to about $4.50. And even at that crazy price, the government still had to pour in hundreds of millions of euros just to keep the lights on. The whole model was just bleeding money. It was completely unsustainable.
Okay, so the economics make sense, but what about the people? I mean, how do you react when a 400-year-old part of your national identity just disappears? Well, as you can imagine, the reactions were pretty mixed.
For some people, there was this real sense of sadness and loss. People who loved the tradition of sending physical cards and letters felt like something special was being taken away. And, of course, there were very real concerns about older folks who might not be as comfortable with the all-digital world.
But then you get the other side of the coin. A huge number of Danes basically just shrugged. As this person on Reddit puts it, for a country where life is already so digital, getting rid of the state-run letter service wasn't some huge shock. To them, it was more like, yeah, that makes sense.
So, what about all the practical stuff? People had a lot of good questions. Like, what about mail from other countries? Well, a private company called DAO won the contract to handle that. And what about really important things, like voting ballots? Turns out, private companies were actually delivering those already. Bank cards and other things like that, they're now just treated like small packages. The system is definitely adapting.
All right, so this brings us to the really big question. Is Denmark just a special case because it's so small and so digital? Or is this the first domino to fall? Are we getting a preview of what's coming for the rest of the world?
And I think this quote from a market scholar just nails it. While yeah, Denmark is unique, the big trends are happening everywhere, right? Mail volume is dropping, e-commerce is exploding, and everything is going digital. Postal services in every country are feeling these same pressures.
You know, this is a pretty cool way to think about how mail has evolved. Most developed countries already went through stage 1, opening up their markets. A lot of places, like the US and the UK, are deep into stage 2, trying everything they can to make the old system work financially. And some are even in stage 3, where the government has to step in with money just to keep it afloat.
And that leads us to our final big idea. By getting rid of the universal service obligation completely, has Denmark basically created a stage 4? A whole new chapter where governments decide that a state-guaranteed letter service just isn't an essential utility anymore in our digital world. So what do you think? Is your country next?